Good afternoon, you guys. It's your boy Bill Mahari here, representing Mahari Nation Sports Podcast. Much love to the entire LDBC and the entire basketball community. If you want more basketball content, tune into Basketball Conversations every Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Time. This is where we discuss basketball related topics, news, debates, and everything else in the world of basketball. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon to get all the latest notifications when I start dropping videos and live streams. Well, we've waited almost months for it. Um, we survived, David Stern's unexpected, death, and then the untimely death of Kobe Bryant, and then throughout this whole crazy pandemic that's been going on in this country. But now we finally made it. We're now we're now going to be starting the 2020 NBA playoffs. Finally, after long waiting, we're finally going to have some basketball. Actually, postseason basketball to be exact here. Okay, so yesterday, the Portland Trail Blazers defeated the Memphis Grizzlies to secure the eighth and final playoff spot. All right. So for the Western Conference seeding, it goes as follows: the number one seed LA Lakers is going to face the Portland Trail Blazers in the number 1 and 8 matchup, and the 4 or 5 matchup is going to be the OKC Thunder versus the Houston Rockets. The 3 and 6 matchup is going to be the number 3 Denver Nuggets versus the number 6 Utah Jazz, and then the second seed LA Clippers will take on the 7th seed Dallas Mavericks. In the Eastern Conference, the number 1 seeded Bucks will take on the Orlando Magic as the 8th seed. The 4th and 5th seed is going to be the 4th seed Miami Heat taking on the 5th seed Indiana Pacers. All right, the 3 seed is going to be the Philadelphia 76ers. Actually, I'm sorry, the Boston Celtics as the 3 seed taking on the 6th seed Philadelphia 76ers. And then the last one, the defending NBA champions, the team that we forget, the defending champion Toronto Raptors will take on the 7th seed Brooklyn Nets in that number 2 and number 7 matchup. So, a lot of compelling matchups, a lot of different storylines with all of these matchups here. So, I'm going to just put it like this. In the Eastern Conference side, the best matchup I can see out of this is probably either two of these matchups. The Heat and Pacers series, because both of them teams really play hard against one another, and there's a bit of beef between those two teams, right? And then this one matchup that could be surprising could be the defending champion Raptors versus the Brooklyn Nets. Now, that matchup to me in the East is going to be a bit compelling to me because people just keep dismissing the fact that the Toronto Raptors, still played, at a high level even before the release the league stopped due to the pandemic, right? So let's put it in this proper perspective, okay? Do I think that they could probably make a run to the Eastern Conference Finals? I can see that to be possible. I do. I think they're more deeper, and Pascal Siakam's playing at a higher level right now. The big factor to me is going to be Kyle Lowry. How much can you get out of him? Right now, he played his ball. He played his his behind off when they won the championship that year with basically signing with Kawhi Leonard. Right now, with no Kawhi Leonard, all right. Now it's going to be up to the group of Pascal Siakam, Serge Ibaka. You know what I'm saying? And then Kyle Lowry too. Those are the guys that are going to have to be efficient to really do something here. But don't dismiss the Brooklyn Nets here, guys. All right, even without Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant on the team, right? They still have really good pieces. Okay, uh, who's that one kid? Karis LeVert. There we go. Almost forgot about Karis LeVert. Saw him play, last week against the Portland Trailblazers. Flat out beast. All right, flat out beast. In fact, I even remember talking about how that the Brooklyn Nets could be interested in trading for Zach Levine for the Chicago Bulls, right? I'm starting to think right now. I think that the Brooklyn Nets should be doing whatever they can to keep Karis LeVert on the team. With him in the lineup, along with when Kyrie and KD coming back next season, I'm telling you, the league better be scared of what the Brooklyn Nets can do. I'm telling y'all right now. I'm just telling y'all. All right. But the way I look at that series is simply this. I think this is going to go probably a 6 game series. Um, I think that the Raptors will obviously win that series, right? Now, the other matchup that's compelling to me is the Sixers and the Celtics, right? All right. Now, here's the thing, guys. Philadelphia is going to be out. Was going to be without Ben Simmons. Now it's going to be the Joel Embiid show. Now he's going to have to raise his game to another level right now. All right. Now Al Horford's going to have more minutes and more touches now. Right. So that matchup is going to be very interesting. Now you also have to consider the fact that the Boston Celtics too is still a very good talented team on their starting lineup, right? When you have Jalen Brown and you have Jason Tatum on your lineup, you're always going to have a chance. Now, the problem I see with the Boston Celtics is this: their bench. Their bench. If their bench needs to provide something, right? They don't go deep into their bench as much. Now, if they could at least provide at least some points and some rebounding off their bench, then they'll offset what Joel can do, right? So I see that series maybe going at least 5 games, or maybe 6, because I can guarantee Philadelphia's going to at least maybe get 1 or 2 victories out of this, right? So I can see that to be a 6 game series in that matchup. All right. Now the Heat and the Pacers, that's gonna be it. That's gonna be a close 7 game series in my view, because Miami, put it like this: Miami is a very well coached defensive team, right? And and Jimmy Butler continues to prove he's one of the best two-way players in the NBA. He can score and he can basically defend, right? And you still got them guys like Bam Adebayo, who's been absolutely fantastic throughout the entire season. I think right now he should be a starter for the way he's been playing. You know what I'm saying? Um, but I think that the Pacers are still going to provide you some interesting things around here. Okay, now the one thing you have to be mindful about this Pacers team is the thing that really alarms me about this Pacers team is that they're very stingy in terms of their offensive attack, right? So let me put this in proper perspective. Even when Victor Oladipo was out the majority of the year with the injury, right? A lot of guys stepped up, right? You had basically T.J. Warren stepping up. You had Demontis Sabonis stepping up, and so I really think right now this is going to be a very interesting and very evenly matched series between those two teams. I could see this could be going 7 games. If I had to be a gambling man, I might side with the Miami Heat. You know what I mean? I think he may just have a little bit more than what the Pacers do have, but it's going to be a very tough series. I guarantee that. All right. So the number 1 and number 8 matchup between Orlando versus Milwaukee. Now remember, Giannis is going to be suspended 1 game for the headbutt on Mo Wagner of the Washington Wizards, right? So he's going to miss out 1 game. I think this might go 5 games. I think that I think that this might go 5 games. I think the Bucks will do just fine, but you have to be mindful of that. The Bucks have been kind of iffy. They kind of been inconsistent since returning back to basketball. They've been there's 3-5, and Giannis has not been happy with the way his team has been playing. So I think my Orlando might still want maybe a game in that series, but I just think without Jonathan Isaac on their lineup, I think that really is going to take a key component in their attack. So I'd see this to probably be going at least 5 games in favor for the Bucks. All right. Now we get to the Western Conference. This is going to be very interesting. The Clippers and Mavericks matchup. That to me is a very interesting matchup, and here's why. You know how deep the Clippers are, right? They can go at least 7 to 8 deep. The problem is that the team right now has not even figured out the assigned roles for each player on the team since coming back, right? And right now, the Clippers right now they're more focused on the Los Angeles Lakers right now. And I'm going to get to the Lakers and Blazers matchup in a few minutes. I think that this series is going to be at least the full 5 or 6 games. I think that the Mavericks, with the presence of basically of Kristaps Porzingis, and then also who was the other star player? I forgot number 77's name. Shoot, what's his name? Just got to think about it. Okay, you look at Doncic. There we go. Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic right now, bro. He's a stud, man. If listen, this kid, oh man, this kid's gonna be a stud for years to come. I would advise him to just change the number, but that's just my opinion. But that doesn't matter. But Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis are gonna be a big problem. Now, the Mavericks are a bit slow in terms of their defensive switches, right? The one thing that I noticed during the scoring spree that Damian Lillard had for the Blazers is that every time when they use the screen and roll to free Damian Lillard for open shots, because of the fact that Kristaps Porzingis' knees are not really the best because of knee surgery, he can't rotate and show out to stop on them switches, right? So if you're If you're the LA Clippers, you exploit that a lot. You force the Mavericks to try to switch on those screen and rolls and put uh, Porzingis in a position where he's going to have to defend either Kawhi or Paul George, and that's where you can get a lot of your scoring off of those sets, right? I think that this could go 5 games, but I think I could see the Mavericks at least to include probably just maybe include 1 game out of this. To me, the X factor of that, the X factor to me is going to be this way. Okay, I think that right now the Clippers are going to try to throw length, ball pressure, physicality at both you know Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, right? I think to me that the Clippers are the best way to slow down Doncic's effectiveness. Um, when he's played against the Clippers during the season, he's averaged 29 points a game, 7 rebounds, 7 assists per game on 42% shooting, which which is really, in all sincerity, not bad numbers for any player, but not for the quality of caliber numbers that Luka averages during the season, right? So the Mavericks are going to try to oppose a heavy dose of pick and pop with both Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, an attempt to try to stretch out the Clippers' defense. Now, during those season matchups, Dallas had good stretches there of using that play to get shots up, right? But the Clippers' ability to switch one of those one through four against Doncic, and even through the center position, is going to prevent the Mavericks from fully exploiting those mismatches, right? So you're not going to stop Luka Doncic, but what you can try to do is you can slow him down and try to limit his effectiveness. All right, but he just creates so many matchup problems for any opposing players. All right, so who's going to be the one to defend Leonard and Paul George? Well, that's responsibility is going to be on Durant Finney-Smith of the Mavericks. Who, all right, but unfortunately, he doesn't have the strength or the athleticism to try to defend the man. Right. So they're going to have to likely use maybe Max Kilber on Leonard and Finley Smith on George, right? Kilber is quick and big and possesses the length and the strength to bother Leonard a bit. But when it comes to rising up for the mid range jumper, you can't stop that, right? So perhaps to me that the lesser of the two evils is going to have to be, they're going to have to find a way to make sure to keep those two guys contained. As I kind of see it, I see this going 5 games. Now, the other matchup out there too is between the Nuggets and the Utah Jazz. Right now, the Nuggets is they're a very interesting team to me, and here's why. Right, the thing with the Denver Nuggets is that they're very methodical in terms of how they approach. Right, so when you break down between those two teams there, right? When you break that down, right? Here's what they're gonna have to do. The Jazz are gonna have to find a way to create offense, right? Now, you know that Nikola Jokic is gonna be assigned against Rudy Gobert, right? Now you know how much of a factor Rudy Gobert is in the middle, right? Because he can basically block shots and he rebounds, right? But Jokic has the ability to pass out of the high post and he can shoot from the outside as well. Now, the other factor is that with Will Barton and Gary Harris injured too, they've had to turn into to the young studs of Torrey Gregg and Michael Porter Jr. during the entire time, right? Now, Craig has done his job against Donovan Mitchell during the season, basically hounding him to the point where they basically had kept the Utah Jazz best player scoreless in their first meeting that year, and it forced Mitchell to work quickly to get the ball out of his hand and make him work off the ball. So, in order to free up Mitchell, the Jazz are going to have to find a way to switch Greg onto somebody else or allow Conley to be more of the facilitator when Craig and Jamal Murray are guarding him and Mitchell. All right, because with Donovan Mitchell, you know, bringing the ball up the court, it's going to have the chance to try to slow him down. Right now, with Michael Porter Jr., he's a I'm telling you, Michael Porter Jr. is going to be a problem for years to come. While though he's a really fast growing offensive player, his problem has been the defensive end. All right. Now during the August 8th game in double overtime, right? Here's the one thing you're gonna have to do, right? Michael Porter Jr. is going to have to find a is going to have to be is going to have to be exploited big time by the Jazz, right? They're going to have to put him in situations where you know they're going to have to put him in situations where when they create switches, they're going to have to take him off the dribble or just maybe utilize his weak defensive prowess, right? So strength can be undervalued by the Jazz in this series. They're gonna have to make the Nuggets work and run their defense and hopefully make things a little bit harder when the Denver Nuggets get on offense, right? Now, in terms of the defensive side of things, Jokic has a great grasp of the game, right? He can take over a game. He basically is a guy that can can facilitate on the offense and can pretty much take over a game without taking jump shots, right? He stretches the floor. He can pass. He can rebound. He's a very effective player, right? Now, one thing, the one thing that they're gonna have to do is simply this: gonna have to take a major team effort to slow down Jokic, right? Gobert can't simply do it by himself, right? He can try, but it's gonna take double teams to try to select the double teams to try to slow down Jokic, right? Now, here are the top priorities, right? For the Jazz side of things, you have to rebound effectively. The Nuggets don't give up on the plays, right? When even on missed shots, they will crash the boards very, very hard. Number two, they're going to have to shoot at a high percentage. Ingles, O'Neal, Mitchell, Conley, Nag, and Clarkson, they're all going to have to be aggressive from the 3-point line to stretch out the Denver defense. All right. And the big one, exploiting the Denver defense. All right. We know that as good as the offensive prowess the Denver Nuggets has been, their weakness is defense. Even Coach Brendan Mike Malone has been kind of just, been flabbergasted of how poorly his team has been playing defense, right? If the Jazz can make them work on the defensive end, it's gonna be very, very it's gonna be a very, very very gonna be a very interesting series to say the least. Now, if you're the Nugget side of things, here are some things that you're gonna have to consider the fact here, right? Utilize your big men. All right. Not only that Gobert is a tremendous interior defender, but he's excellent, but he has great mobility, right? So you're gonna have to really find a way to really pretty much attack his ability, attack him on the defensive end, right? Hang on just one second. Here we go. So let's continue on the conversation at hand here, right? Now, the other thing too is this, all right? Utilize utilize your wings, all right? Now, the wings of the Jazz are kind of decent, right? But you're gonna have to utilize your strong wing players, guys like Jamal Murray and guys like Michael Porter Jr. They're gonna have to really attack the smaller and more mobile guards of the Jazz, right? So, and the most important thing too, the defense, right? The defense has to be better. All right. The Nuggets have to defend if they're going to win this series. This is why I see this to be much more of an offensive series. All right. I see this to be much more of a high scoring series because even though the Jazz play a little bit of better defense, they're not as strong as defense, right? The Nuggets are terrible on defense. So I see this to be more of a offensive shootout, and I favor the Nuggets to win at least between 6 or 7 games. Names. All that regular season stuff, throw out the window. All right. Now, the other matchup at hand here, the Thunder versus the Rockets. Very interesting. Now, with the Rockets here, right, they're going to be without Russell Westbrook, right? This is going to shift most of the offensive attention on James Harden, right? Now, James Harden always relishes of basically being the offensive juggernaut, as shown by his stats throughout the entire season, right? But the thing that alarms me about the Rockets is simply this, right? The Rockets don't have size, right? The Rockets don't have size, and their offensive sets are terrible, right? Mostly working using isolation a lot. People forget how much undervalued Chris Paul is as a point guard. This is why I pretty much told people like they're gonna miss Chris Paul a lot because Chris Paul does a good job of not just setting the tone in their backcourt, but basically keeping the team organized on their offensive sets. This is why I truly believe that without Russell Westbrook in a lineup, it's really going to make a huge difference because now Chris Paul doesn't have to worry about Russell Westbrook hounding him in the backcourt, right? This is going to be a very interesting scenario, right? And this is not a surprise because both these teams have met each other before, right? But it's hard to overlook how much size is going to play a huge difference because with Steven Adams in the lineup, it's going to really make things very very difficult for the Rockets. All right, listen, Steven Adams has been averaging 9.3 rebounds a game this season, and it's going to spike big time because the Rockets do not have a guy that's at least 6'11" or 7 feet taller. This is why trading Clint Capella was going to be a major mistake, and in this series, I believe this is going to be. I really do. Right now, even though people are going to take the Rockets to win the series, this is going to be a huge story for the Oklahoma City Thunder to really prove the doubters wrong. Right now, even though they traded away their two best players, all right, even when Chris Paul came in, right, there was pretty much the consensus is that the Thunder was not going to be a team that was not going to do much at all. But they proved everybody wrong. They pretty much have a team that is, besides with Chris Paul, a team that has pretty much got some good young players in the mix, right? So I tend to believe right now. I believe that this is the Rockets' chance to try to prove their critics wrong. Listen, if they don't get on close to the conference finals or the finals, this team is going to get breaking up, right? D'Antoni's going to leave. Darren Moore is going to leave, right? This is make or break year, right? There's no excuses anymore, right? Now listen, I tend to think that I think this series, I think this could go 6 games in the favor of the Thunder. I just think that size is going to play a major difference. You know that James Harden is going to get you at least 30 points in that series, right? But we've seen James Harden sometimes wear himself out in the postseason and sometimes puts up terrible performances. So if you're a Rockets fan, you better hope that does not happen. Now we get to the number 1 and number 8 matchup between the Lakers and the Blazers, right? Here's what I kind of see out of this, okay? The Blazers right now are riding off an emotional high after basically playing a playing game just to get into the postseason, right? They pretty much have been a team that's been riding off of the backs of the two basically best guards, both CJ and basically with Dame Dollar, right? With Dame Dollar, he's not going to score, between the 40s or the 50s as much against the Lakers, right? So this is really going to be an interesting first round series. I know a lot of the brothers have been pretty much saying like, oh, the Blazers are going to win this series. It's going to be an upset. Well, here's the thing. They've been pretty much beating teams that are not as strong as defensively, right? But you also have to consider the fact that, with no Rajon Rondo due to injury and no Avery Bradley because he refused to play, right? This is this their backcourt is a bit suspect right now. All right, you're putting KCP in a position where you're gonna have to rely on him to slow down Dame Dollar. Now, I don't expect him to try to be the sole defender against him, right? But I expect for the LA Lakers to try to double team, Damian Lillard to try to get the ball out of his hands. This is where the presence of Gary Trent Jr., CJ McCollum, Carmelo Anthony, those guys are going to have to hit jump shots if they're going to pull off this monumental upset. All right, CJ McCollum right now is playing with a back fracture, which means that his back could probably re-injure himself at any moment. But against the Memphis Grizzlies, he came back and scored 14 points in that fourth quarter to finish with 29 points, hitting big shots. And then the play of the game when Dame Dollar dribble penetrated and found Carmelo Anthony wide open on the right corner for the three to pretty much seal the game. This is really going to be an interesting thing. Now, the X factor is Melo. What are you going to get out of Carmelo Anthony? Are you gonna see the Carmelo Anthony that showed his age, or be the rejuvenated Melo throughout this entire year, right? So the thing with the Lakers is going to have to be is this: control the backcourt, all right, take the ball out of Lillard's hands and make the other guys around him make their shots. Right now, I know Zach Collins and Nurkic are gonna do whatever they can. Right, but it's a totally different ball game when you go up against Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis puts so much offensive pressure on your defensive side that he's gonna get a lot of those interior Portland Trail Blazer guys in foul trouble. I kind of see this as maybe going 6 games in favor of the Lakers. I think they're going to get at least 2. But I tend to believe right now, I think that, the Lakers, they're going to have the pressure's on them to win a championship, right? If they don't win a championship, this team's going to get breaking up. And you know that the blame's going to be on LeBron James for it. He has to get it done. There's no excuses anymore, right? But I can't see this series going 7 games, and maybe the Blazers may be pulling off the upset due to the pressure that the Lakers are going through at that particular point. The big thing is going to be in Game 1. The Blazers need to get a split to have a shot, right? If they go on and lose the first 2 games, it's going to put so much pressure on Dame Dollar and CJ McCollum to come up with a big game to keep themselves alive. They have to split one of the 2 games. They have to. There's no other option to me. All right? This is what they have to do. They have to win at least Game 1 or Game 2 to put some doubt in the Lakers' minds, right? Then you're going to have to at least win Games 3 and 4 to put more doubt in the Lakers' mind and try to succeed this to Game 7, right? So the Lakers need to go into Game 1 and put the pressure on their backcourt, right? They need to put the intimidation factor on the Blazers to make sure that they know that this is not the same Laker team that they saw in the regular season. This is playoff time. So that's where I kind of see. I got Lakers at 6. But that's pretty much my rundown of most of these playoff matchups there. But we're going to get some exciting basketball in the upcoming weeks. And I'll put in some post-game comments and pretty much some thoughts of all the storylines of all, the recent, events that have been going on in this year's playoffs. But we finally made it, guys. And we're going to see some exciting basketball as we get set to crown a NBA champion. So let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Who are your favorites? What's your series that you're going to be watching for? And what's the things you're going to be looking for? Y'all have a great day. Peace.